So, hello and welcome back to another evening with Ivanhoe. Uh, Sorry about the wet hair and all that. I just got back a little while ago from the walk I took. If you didn't see that video, it was this afternoon's video, and it was a good walk up until I stopped recording. Maybe I should have just recorded the whole thing. I was out walking along, having a good time, had my camera back in my pocket. I was like, yeah, that'll be a pretty good video. I mean, I rambled a lot, but I always ramble a lot when I talk in videos. It kind of just represents my whole train of thought when I'm out walking. It just skitters from one topic to the next. I'm just walking along, listening to the birds, looking at the pretty trees, and I don't know what I tripped over. But the next thing I knew, I was on the ground saying, ouch. And of course, I was about 2.5 miles from home. So I turned my knee into hamburger. It's fine. It's fine. It hurts, but it's fine. I don't think any of this is going to show up like on video, but I landed on the heel of my hand there and the back of my hand there, which they looked much more spectacular when I first did it because they were bleeding. But yeah, it was not fun. And then I had to walk 2.5 miles home. I mean, bonus note, I walked just fine. And it wasn't until I got home, took a shower, and stopped walking that it really started to hurt the knee that I landed on. So it was like, well, this is fun. Anyway, that was my day. I hope you guys are having a good day. I mean, could have been worse. I could have broken something and had to crawl home. That would have sucked. But no, it's all fine. And I'm still planning on going to Tequamanen Falls tomorrow. It just means I'll have to take a lot of Tylenol with me. Tylenol is a good thing. And nothing was broken, so that's good. And we are back to find out what's going to become of Rebecca now that she has demanded trial by combat and that she wants a champion. We're going to hope that she gets the Black Knight. I was going to say we were going to hope that maybe Ivanhoe would fight for her, but Ivanhoe's probably still flat on his back or not exactly up to snuff, so we're going to hope for the Black Knight, who we know is King Richard. I hope, yes, King Richard the Lionhearted. So that's where we were, and let's jump back in and start with a quote. There I throw my gage, to prove it on thee to the extremest point of martial daring. Richard III. Is that a Shakespearean play? I feel like it might be. Or that was actually Richard II. My bad. Anyway, oh, hello, sunlight. Sunlight on cue. Uh, we're going to jump back in and we are going to be reading chapter 38 of Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott. Even Lucas Beaumorier himself was affected by the appearance of Rebecca. He was not originally a cruel or even a severe man, but with passions by nature cold, and with a high, though mistaken sense of duty, his heart had been gradually hardened by the ascetic life which he pursued, by the supreme power which he enjoyed, and by the supposed necessity of subduing infidelity and eradicating heresy which he conceived peculiarly incumbent upon him. His features relaxed in their usual severity as he gazed upon the beautiful creature before him, alone, unfriended, and defending herself with so much spirit and courage. He crossed himself twice, as doubting whence arose the unwonted softening of a heart on which such occasions used to resemble hardness of steel of his sword. He got himself under control and finally spoke. "Damsel," he said, "if the pity I feel for you arise from any practice your evil arts have made upon me, then great is your guilt. but I rather judge it the kinder feelings of nature, which grieves that so goodly a form should be a vessel of perdition. Repent. Confess your witchcraft, turn you from your evil faith, embrace this holy emblem, and all shall yet be well with you here and hereafter. In some sisterhood of the strictest order, you will have time for prayer and fitting penance, and that repentance not be repeated of. This, do this and live. What has the law of Moses done for you that you would die for it? It was the law of my fathers, said Rebecca. It was delivered in thunder and in storms upon the Mount Sinai, in cloud and fire. This, if you are Christians, you believe. It is, you say, recalled, but so my teachers have not taught me. Let the chaplain, said Beaumorier, stand forth and tell this infidel. Forgive my interruption, said Rebecca. I am but a maiden, unskilled to dispute for my religion, but I can die for it. Let me pray your answer to my demand of a champion, though. Give me your glove, said Beaumorier. This is indeed, he said as he looked up at the flimsy texture and slender fingers, a slight, frail gauge for such a deadly purpose. Do you see, Rebecca, as this thin and light glove of yours is to one of our heavy steel gauntlets, that is like your cause to that of the temple, for it is our order which you have defied. Cast my innocence upon the scale, said Rebecca, and the glove of silk shall outweigh your glove of iron. Then you persist in refusing to confess your guilt, and you persist in this bold challenge you have made? I do, noble sir, said Rebecca. Well, so be it then, in the name of heaven, and may God show who is right. Amen, said all the men around him, and the word echoed deeply around the assembly. Brethren, said Beaumorier, you are aware that we may well have refused this woman to the benefit of the trial by combat, but though she is a Jew and an unbeliever, she is also a stranger and defenseless, and God forbid that she should ask the benefit of our mild laws, and it was refused to her. Moreover, we are knights and soldiers as well as religious men, and shame it were to us upon any pretense to refuse combat. Thus, therefore, stands the case. Rebecca, daughter of Isaac of York, is by many frequent and suspicious circumstances accused of sorcery practiced upon the person of a noble knight of our holy order, and she has challenged the combat to prove her innocence. To who, brethren, is it your opinion that we should deliver this gage of battle, naming him at the same time to be our champion upon the field? I say to Brian de Bois Guilbert, upon whom it chiefly concerns, said the preceptor of Goodalricke, and who, moreover, best knows how the truth stands in this matter. But, said the Grand Master, our brother Brian is under the influence of a charm or spell. We speak but for the sake of precaution, for the arm of none of our holy order would be more willingly confided to this more weighty cause. But, holy father, said the preceptor of Goodalricke, no spell can affect the champion who comes forward to fight for the judgment of the holy. You may be right, brother, said the Grand Master. Albert Malvision, give this gage of battle to Brian de Bois Guilbert. It is our charge to you, brother, he said, turning to Bois Guilbert, that you do your battle manfully, nothing doubting that the good cause shall triumph. And you, Rebecca, attend that we assign you upon the third day from now to find your own champion. That is a short time, said Rebecca, for a stranger who is also of another faith to find one who will do battle, wagering life and honor for her cause against a knight who is called an approved soldier. We will not extend it, said the Grand Master. The field must be fought in our own presence, and divers weighty call us forth 4 days from now. Then God's will be done, said Rebecca. I put my trust in him to whom an instant is an effectual and an entire age. That was a sentence and a half. I put my trust in him to whom an instant is as effectual to save as a whole age. You have spoken well, damsel, said the Grand Master. But well know we who can array himself like an angel of light. It remains but to name a fitting place of combat, and if it so happens, also of execution. Where's the preceptor of this house? Albert Malvision, still holding Rebecca's glove in his hand, was speaking to Bois Guilbert earnestly in a low voice. How? Said the Grand Master. Will he not receive the gage? He will. He does, most reverend father, said Malvision, slipping the glove under his mantle. And for the place of combat, I hold the fittest to be the lists of St. George belonging to this preceptory, and used by us for military exercise. Very well, said the Grand Master. Rebecca, in those lists you will produce your champion, and if you fail to do so, or if your champion shall be discomfited by the judgment of God, then you will die the death of a sorceress according to your doom. Let this, our judgment, be recorded, and the record read aloud, so none may pretend in ignorance. One of the chaplains who acted as clerks to the chapter immediately engrossed the order in a huge volume, which contained the proceedings of the Templar Knights when solemnly assembled in such judgments, and when he had finished writing, the other read the sentence of the Grand Master, which, when translated from the Norman French in which it was written, was as follows. Rebecca, a Jew, daughter to Isaac of York, being acquainted of sorcery, seduction, and many other damnable practices practiced upon a knight of the most holy order of the Temple of Zion, does deny this, and says that the testimony delivered against her on this day is false, wicked, and disloyal, and that by lawful escient of her body, as being unable to combat on her own behalf, she doth offer by a champion instead thereof to avouch her case, he performing his loyal devoir in all knightly sort, with such arms as to gage of battle do fully appertain, and that at her peril and cost. And therewith she proffered her gage, and the gage having been delivered to the noble lord and knight Brian de Bois Guilbert, of the Holy Order of the Temple of Zion, he was appointed to do this battle on behalf of his order and himself, as injured and impaired by the practices of the appellant. Wherefore, most revered father and lord, Lord Marquis Lucas de Beaumorier, did allow this said challenge, and of the said escient of the appellant's body, and assigned the third day for this said combat, the place being the enclosure called the Lists of St. George, near the Presbytery of Templestowe. And the Grand Master appointed the appellant to appear there by her champion upon the pain of doom as a person convicted of sorcery or seduction, and also the defendant to so appear under the penalty of being held and adjudged recreant in case of default. And the noble lord and most revered father aforesaid appointed the battle to be done in his own presence, and according to all that is commendable and profitable in such a case. And may God aid the just cause. Amen, said the Grand Master, and the word was echoed by all around. Rebecca, though, did not. She looked up to heaven and, folding her hands, remained for a minute without changing attitude. Then she modestly reminded the Grand Master that she ought to be permitted some opportunity of free communication with her friends, for the purpose of making her condition known to them and procuring, if possible, a champion to fight for her honor. It is just and lawful, said the Grand Master. Choose what messenger you will trust, and he will have free communication with you in your prison chamber. Is there, said Rebecca, anyone here who, either for love of a good cause or for ample hire, will do the errand of a distressed woman? All of them were silent, for none thought it safe in the presence of the Grand Master to avow any interest in the calumniated prisoner, lest he be suspected of leaning towards Judaism. Not even the prospect of reward, far less any feelings of compassion, could surmount this apprehension. Rebecca stood for a few moments in indescribable anxiety, and then said, "Is it really this? And in English land, am I to be deprived of the poor chance of safety which remains to me, for want of an act of charity which would not be refused to the worst criminal?" Hig, the son of Snell, finally replied, "I am but a maimed man, but all that I can stir or move was owing to her charitable assistance. I will do your errand," he said, turning to Rebecca, "as well as a cripple can, and happily were my limbs fleet enough to repair the mischief done by my tongue. Alas, when I boasted of your charity, I little thought that I was leading you into danger." "God is the disposer of all," said Rebecca. "He can turn back the captivity of Judah even by the weakest instrument. To execute his message, the snail is as good a messenger as a falcon. Seek out Isaac of York. Here is what will pay for a horse and a man, and give him this scroll. I know not if it be of heaven, the spirit which inspires me, but most truly do I judge that I am not going to die this death, and that a champion will be found for me. Farewell. My life and death are in your hands." The peasant took the scroll, which contained only a few lines in Hebrew. Many of the crowd would have dissuaded him from touching a document so suspicious, but Hig was resolute in service. She had saved his body, he said, and he was confident that she did not mean to imperil his soul. "It will get me," he said, "my neighbor Berthan's good copple, and I will be at York within as brief a space as man and beast may." But it fortuned he had no occasion to go so far, for within a quarter mile of the gate of the preceptory he met with two riders, who, by their dress and their huge yellow hats, he knew to be Jewish, and on approaching more closely, he discovered that one of them was his ancient employer, Isaac of York. The other was the rabbi, Ben Simal, and both had approached as close to the preceptory as they dared upon hearing that the Grand Master had summoned a chapter for the trial of a sorceress. "Brother Ben Samuel," said Isaac, "my soul is disquieted, and I don't know why. This charge of necromancy is right often used for cloaking evil practices about our people." "Be of good comfort, my brother," said the rabbi. You can deal with the Nazarenes as one possessing the mammon of unrighteousness, and can therefore purchase the immunity at their hands. It rules the savage minds of these ungodly men, even as the signet of the mighty Solomon was said to command the evil genie. But look, what poor wretch comes to us on crutches, desiring some speech? Friend, said the physician, turning to Hig, the son of Snell, I will not refuse you the aid of my art, but I relieve not with one appear who begs for alms upon the highway. Out upon thee. Do you have palsy in your legs? Then let your hands work for your livelihood, for albeit thou suffer best unfit for speedy posts, or for a careful shepherd, or for the warfare or the service of a hasty master. But I do know that there are occupations. Wait, what, brother? He said, interrupting his scolding to look towards Isaac, who had glanced at the scroll that Hig offered. Isaac uttered a deep groan and fell off of his mule like a dying man and lay for a moment insensible. This made the rabbi now dismount in great alarm and hastily applied the remedies which his art suggested for the recovery of his companion. He had even taken from his pocket a cupping apparatus and was about to proceed to phlebotomy when the object of his anxious solicitude revived, but all he did was dash his hat from his head and to throw dust into his hair. The rabbi was at first inclined to ascribe this sudden violent emotion to the effects of insanity, and, adhering to his original purpose, began once again to handle his instruments, but Isaac soon convinced him of his error. "Child of my sorrow," he said, "well, should you be called Benmoni instead of Rebecca? Why should your death bring down my gray hairs to the grave, till in the bitterness of my heart I have to curse God?" "Brother," said the rabbi, "are you a father in Israel, and you utter words like this? I trust that the child of your house is still alive." "She is," said Isaac, "but it is as Daniel, who was called Bethazar, even when within the den of lions. She is captive unto these men of Belial, and they will wreak their cruelty upon her, sparing neither for her youth or her beauty. Oh, she was as a crown of green palms to my gray hair, and she must wither in the night like the gourd of Jonah. Child of my love, child of my old age, oh, Rebecca, daughter of Rachel, the darkness of the shadow of death have encompassed you." "Well, read the scroll," said the rabbi. It may be that we can find a way to deliver her." "You read it, brother," said Isaac. My eyes are too filled with tears." The physician read, but in their native language, the following words: "To Isaac, son of Andokiam, who the Gentiles call Isaac of York, peace and blessing of the promise be multiplied unto you. My father, I am as one doomed to die for that which my soul knoweth not, even for the crime of witchcraft. My father, if a strong man can be found to do battle for my cause with sword and spear, according to the custom of the Nazarenes, and that within the lists of Templestowe, on the 3rd day from today, then perhaps our father's God will give him the strength to defend the innocent, and her who has none to help. But if this may not be, let the virgins of our people mourn for me as one cast off, and for the hart that was stricken by the hunter, for the flower which is cut down by the scythe of the mower. Wherefore, look now what you do, and if there can be any rescue. One Nazarene warrior might indeed bear arms on my behalf, Wilfred, the son of Cedric, who the Gentiles call Ivanhoe, but he may not yet endure the weight of his armor. Nevertheless, send these tidings on to him, my father, for he has favor among the strong men of his people, and as he was our companion in the house of bondage, he may find someone to do battle for my sake. And say unto him, even unto him, even unto Wilfred the son of Cedric, that if Rebecca live, or if Rebecca die, she liveth or dieth free of the guilt that she is charged of. And if it be the will of God that you will be deprived of your daughter, do not tarry, old man, in this land of bloodshed and cruelty, but betake yourself to Cordova, where your brother lives in safety, under the shadow of the throne, even of the throne of Babodil the Saracen, who is far less cruel to the race of Jacob than the cruelties of the Nazarenes in England. Isaac listened with tolerable composure while Ben Samuel read the letter, and then again resumed the gestures and exclamations of sorrow, tearing at his garments, besprinkling his head with dust, and screaming, my daughter, flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. Yet, said the rabbi, take courage, for this grief avails nothing. Gird up your loins, seek out this Wilfred, the son of Cedric. It may be that he will help you with counsel or with strength, for the youth has favor in the eyes of Richard, called by the Nazarenes Coeur de Lion, and the tidings that he has returned are in the land. It may be that he may obtain his letter and his signet and command these men of blood who take their name from the temple to the dishonor of the temple, and tell them that they proceed not in their proposed wickedness. I will seek him out, said Isaac, for he is a good young boy, and he has compassion for the exile of Jacob, but he cannot bear his armor, and what other Christian shall do battle for the oppressed? No, said the rabbi, but you speakest as one that does not know these Gentiles. With gold you shall buy their valor, even as with gold you buy your own safety. Be of good courage, and do set forward to find out this Wilfred of Ivanhoe. I will also be up and doing, for great sin it is to leave you in your calamity. I will take myself to the city of York, where many warriors and strong men are assembled, and I doubt not that I will find among them some who will do battle for your daughter, for gold is their god, and riches make them pawn their lives and lands. You will fulfill, my brother, such a promise as I make unto them in your name. Oh, assuredly, said Isaac, and heaven be praised that raised me up a comforter in my misery. Howbeit, grant them not their full demand at once, for you will find in the quality of these accursed people that they will ask pounds and then accept ounces. Nevertheless, be it as you will, for I am distracted in this whole thing, and what would my gold avail me if the child of my love should perish? Farewell, said the physician, and may it be to you as your heart desires. Then the men embraced and departed upon their different roads. The crippled peasant remained for some time looking after them. These Jews, he said, to take no more notice of a free guild brother than if I were a bond slave or a Turk or a circumcised Hebrew. They might have flung me a mawkus or two. I was not obliged to bring their unhallowed scrolls, and run the risk of becoming bewitched. And what do I care for the bit of gold that the wench gave me, if I come to harm from a priest next Easter at confession, and be obliged to give him twice as much money to make up with him, and to be called a Jew's flying post all my life? I think I was bewitched when I was by that girl, but it's always so. Jew or Gentile, whosoever comes near her, none could stay when she had an errand to send them on. Still, whenever I do think of her, I would give up all of my gold just to save her life. And that was the somewhat confusing last couple of sentences of this chapter. This chapter had a couple of them. Too many these, thous, wilts, and whereofs. A good chapter, though. It does bring Isaac down a few pegs in my estimation. I liked him the best of most of the guys other than the jester, but now he's very cowardly. I mean, he's an old man, so I get that, but I think they're giving him too much of the greedy old man stereotype. Oh well, we'll see how it works. I'm telling you, Ivanhoe's not going to be strong enough to do this. It's going to have to be King Richard, and he's going to win Rebecca's freedom, and then he's going to take off his helmet, and everybody's going to bow. At least that's my bet right now. We'll see if I'm right in a few days when we get to the end of this book. Anyway, I'm going to go take some Tylenol because I haven't taken Tylenol yet. And then I'm going to put some ice on my knee, which is at least bandaged and cleaned and everything now. And I will probably come back. I want to do another chapter tonight. So if I still have wet hair in this outfit, that's going to be why. If not, then we'll see what happens. But thank you for listening. Please do hit the thumbs up on your way out, and I will see you in a while.